Alright, so the only game of this weekend's MLS action is in the books, and I actually found out later why exactly this is actually the only game that has happened. And, I talk about how it was kind of weird that this game was taking place today in the midst of this mini summer break that MLS is enduring. And the reason why is because this game was originally scheduled in July, but because of the fact that Children's Mercy Park is one of the venue for the Gold Cup, and when this game was scheduled originally, it was actually scheduled in a date where now there is actually a Gold Cup game that basically occupied that spot, so they kind of had to reschedule this game, and therefore that's why they decided to reschedule this game into June. But that being said, in terms of this game, well, there probably should have been a winner in this game. I mean, this was a game was filled with tons of missed chances. And also, Brad Stewart decided to be an absolute god in this game. I mean, he is definitely making a case after this game that he could be the goalkeeper of the year, and maybe even make his case and give Jonathan on a little bit run for his money in terms of who is actually the better goalkeeper that basically play his first year in MLS, or basically a new coming goalkeeper heading into this season. Now, first of all, I want to definitely send some thoughts and prayers in terms of what happened earlier this morning in Austin. If you guys haven't heard about, there was an unfortunate mass shooting that happened in downtown Austin. I didn't hear any death that was reported, but there was at least 13 people that was injured during that instance. So definitely a very emotional day, certainly in Austin, and I'm pretty sure maybe the players kind of realized that, and they definitely gave it all in this game to play for the city that unfortunately is enduring this very tragic time. And then also earlier this morning, during the Euros game between Denmark versus Finland, we saw a very scary moment when Christian Eriksen basically collapsed onto the floor. And later on we found out that he actually is in the hospital and looks like he is in stable condition, which is definitely great news to hear. But honestly, that was a very scary incident, something that I don't think I have seen in a soccer game ever, and rarely happened in a soccer game ever, where a player just simply collapsed during the middle of the game. And again, it's great to hear that Christian Eriksen is stable right now in the hospital, and I'm assuming he might be released from the hospital in these next couple of days. But again, it was a very scary incident, certainly an incident that definitely united the soccer world. I know pretty much MLS and all these teams in MLS have basically shared their thoughts and prayers toward Christian Eriksen and his family, because that could have been a very ugly and very scary instance during that game. And also, by the way, that game did eventually finish. They did kind of pause that game for about an hour, but eventually they did finish that game. And that game could have easily been suspended, but I guess both of these players or both of these teams kind of talk about whether or not they decide to continue, and it seems like they decide eventually continue that game. So yeah, but either way, moving on into this game, and in the first half, Busio did hit one from 19 yards out that went wide. SKC was dominating possession early, and this was kind of unsurprising because SKC tends to like to dominate possession when they're playing at home. But the problem is they were having trouble in terms of that final ball. Like, they were really struggling in terms of creating a lot of clear-cut chances because of them not doing very well in their final ball. And I guess maybe this is maybe some rust that both of these teams, and maybe for SKC, they're having, where as I mentioned, it's been 2 weeks since both of these teams have played a competitive match, and when you're off for that amount of period, which might not sound like a long amount of period, but when you're off for that kind of period, you probably would be a little bit rusty to begin in the game. They mentioned that Austin have not conceded a goal in the first 30 minutes of this season, which just shows you that this is an Austin team. One thing that is a strength of this Austin team is that they do have a very good defense, and that this is a team that doesn't find themselves shooting themselves in the foot early and go down in the game, which I think that's something that every team would always like to do, because you don't want to give up an early goal and find yourself behind the 8 ball early in the game. And at least Austin so far this season have shown that they've been able to keep out of that situation. Now, Johnny Russell did miss wide as he went through on goal. And by the way, literally a minute after they mentioned this, Johnny Russell almost scored a goal. I mean, I thought that was maybe a commentary curse, but unfortunately, Russell didn't didn't put that one on target. But then Austin, just 3 minutes later, would get the game opening goal. It's the Minigis who scores from Kuminich to give Austin a 1-0 lead, and not only the fact that that goal was against the run of play, because I thought SKC were by far the better team, but that was the first goal that Austin FC have scored in 300 plus minutes. I mean, this has been the biggest issue for this Austin FC team, which is they just aren't able to put the ball into the back of net very often, and that they had a very long drought of not scoring a goal, but it kind of finally come to an end in the 26th minute. Despite going down 1-0, I thought SKC continued to press for the equalizer. There was actually a lot of celebrities that was attending this game. First of all, they actually had Rob Riggle in the booth. He also did kind of the cringy, I believe we will win kind of chant in the beginning of the game. And then he also was invited in the booth. And, I kind of had some mixed opinions about celebrity being in the booth. I mean, on one hand, I get it, why they want to have celebrities in the booth, but on the other hand, I think for a soccer game, that's probably not an appropriate time to have them. I mean, you could probably have it maybe in a baseball game when it's kind of more like slow pace, but in a soccer game where there's always action that is happening, maybe this is not the appropriate time to basically invite Rod Riggles into the booth. And the only good thing about this is at least during most of the time that he was in the booth, I think maybe about 1/3 of the time was actually that water break that was happening, because his commentary was very cringy. It was getting to a point where I was actually thinking about muting the stream because of how cringy that Rob Riggles was making doing his commentary. They also show Patrick Mahomes in attendance in this game, which immediately the MVP chant rang down whenever they show him on the screen. Stuver then in the 43rd minute absolutely robbed Daniel Shaarawy, who hit this one off the volley from close range, and to just show you how good that save was. I mean, I thought for sure Shaarawy was able to just get enough onto that ball and basically hits it past Stuver, but Stuver with an incredible save to fingertip that one. And then in the 4th minute of stoppage time, it almost looked like Austin was going to go up 2-0 before halftime, as Gallagher went through on goal but only finds the side netting. This won't be the last time that Austin FC had a couple of breakaway opportunity that they weren't able to convert. But we had to halftime with a 1-0 lead in favor of Austin. And in the second half, Stuver continued to stood on his head, denying Hernandez, who tried to chipped him from short range, before Shaarawy did blaze one high after Hernandez's shot was blocked, and that shot from Shaarawy was actually on the follow-up. Sporting KC continued to, I thought, play the high press, which, that did not really allow Austin to kind of go on the transition. But as soon as I wrote that, Austin did find a way to get on the transition, but Tim Melia was able to deny Dominguez his second goal, who he also tried to chip the goalkeeper, but Melia was having none of that one. Then Alex Ring probably should have done better, as he was kind of wide open in the 6-yard area, but unfortunately he missed that one wide. And I also thought that the SKC defense, they look very vulnerable, and really at times I thought this SKC defense kind of looked vulnerable in this game, and I think they're probably fortunate the fact that they only conceded one goal in this, and the fact that Austin FC didn't really have their shooting boots in this game at all. Well, in fact, both teams did not have their shooting boots in this game at all. Despite Austin looking to go on in a low block and looked like they were just going to hold on to this 1-0 lead, Josh Wolf actually decided to bring in some attacking option by bringing Redis and Kakuta Mane into the game. And, I kind of understand why he decided to do that, because he's seen how his team is looking very dangerous on the counter attack and can really threaten this SKC defense on the break. But you're basically holding on to a 1-0 lead, and you're kind of in a low block. Shouldn't you maybe think about just bringing some extra defender to make sure you kind of lock this thing down? Because immediately after, when Josh Wood decided kind of take a gamble to bring some attacking option into the game, SKC got the equalizer. And it's Daniel Shaarawy that's got the equalizer, as he's tied the game up at 1 apiece, which, I think that is totally deserved, because SKC was just pounding on the door, and you kind of knew eventually they were going to get that goal, which came in the 71st minute. But then 4 minutes later, Manny Perez basically went through on goal, and again, it was another one of these Austin FC breakaway that it looked like for sure that Austin has a big opportunity to retake that lead, but unfortunately his shot wide as he went through on goal. Before on the other end, Stuver denied Russell, who also went through on goal, and I also thought that the game was looking up for the balance. I mean, I know some people might think SKC eventually was going to get the next goal, but you also saw there were times that Austin FC was going on the breakaway, and they could have easily got that go-ahead goal if they were a little bit better in terms of their finishing. In fact, in the 80th minute, they probably should have got the go-ahead goal. I mean, Rodney Redis, that is definitely one that he does not want to look back at the end of tonight because, you know, first of all, it was a good run there from Manny Perez, who again went through on goal. And, you know, this time Perez showed some unselfish play, decided to play the ball into the middle and kind of squared that ball from Redis. And, you know, for Rodney Redis, when you basically are put a ball on a platter, you have to put that one in the back of net. Like, at minimum, he has to put that one on target, but the fact that he didn't do it and he basically dragged that one wide just to shows you how the finishing for Austin FC was just not here in this game, and really not been there for pretty much this entire season, as that's also one of the issues that they've been having this season, besides actually putting the ball into the back of the net. Then, in the 85th minute, Stuver was able to deny Shelton before he did it again just 2 minutes later. This time, Shelton did try to curl one in, but Stuver was able to deny him on the spot. And during stoppage time, you can see SKC was putting on the kitchen sink on Austin FC, as Austin was looking to hang on to get a point out of this game, which eventually they were able to do so, as it ends in a 1-1 draw between both of these teams. Shots in this game, 32 shots compared to 9 that Austin FC had in this game. 11 shots on goal compared to 2 that Austin has. 1 shot off target compared to 10 that Sporting KC had. 6 shots that was blocked compared to 11 that SKC has in this game. And in terms of possession, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Austin FC had. And again, you know, I know some people will say that SKC will be the more frustrated team in this game because when you look on the stats point, they clearly dominate the stats line, and you could say that if it wasn't for Brad Stuver really stood on his head, SKC probably should have won this game. But I also would like to kind of argue that maybe Austin FC would also be very frustrated about this game too. I mean, yes, I know they did get a point on the road, and anytime when you are able to get a point on the road, and especially when you look at the stat lines, you would think they would be the more happier side. But when you look at some of the chances that they had in this game, I mean, those were just Class A golden chances that you know, if you're going to be a team that maybe is going to trying to be on the bubble of making to the playoffs, those are the chances that you of course have to finish. And you know, I know for a majority of the game they had to absorb a lot of pressure, but there's also times that, you know, they would have just put away those chances that they had. This game could have been a whole lot different. In this game, Austin FC could have walked away with all 3 points and definitely had the momentum heading into next week home opener against the Quakes. But that being said, you know, I also could understand why people say Austin are going to be the more happier side to get a point out of this. And you know, now that they finally have finished their long 8-game road trip to begin the season, hopefully, you know, when you look at the total points that Austin FC has got throughout this 8 points, which I believe it's let's see, I think 8 points that they got throughout this 8-game road trip. I think that's not a bad total, consider, you know, on the road it's always tough to try to get points, and the fact that they of course got 8 points out of that. And you know, you hope that maybe this team is going to be kind of a good home team and going to make Q2 Stadium like a fortress. Maybe they still could have an outside shot in terms of making the playoffs. But again, I just feel like both of these teams will definitely regret in terms of some of the missed chances in this game, and that I feel like clearly there should have been a winner in this game if both team was able to find their shooting boots in this one. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for this review. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.